It's a dog eat dog world out there. And if you don't learn that in the home, you ain't gonna make it out there. And I thought the majority of kids go to jail. That's what I thought it was. So my pops, he was drug dealing and kind of older when he had me. So he was stuck in his ways, doing his own thing. At the age of 2, he caught a life sentence and was sent to prison.
Mm.
My mom died from drugs and alcohol when I was like 6 years old. I was one of the kids that was left to figure it out.
All right, top of the world. We back at Last of a Dying Seed, the only platform on this planet where we take real stories from real people and we pair them with movies. And today we have Chance Hall on the channel. And one of the movies that he says relates to his life is All Day and at Night. He's the first one on this channel to do this movie. Now, for the world that don't know, how does this movie relate to your life?
Man, so the biggest thing this movie touches on, and it's like a plug and play thing. It touches on the cycle of poverty, the cycle of trauma and hurting people, and Jacor going through it with his dad. He's teaching him. He says it's a dog eat dog world out there, and if you don't learn that in the home, you ain't gonna make it out there. And all those things I think could be related, not just for me, but for young Black men across America.
Right. All right. And let's go a little deeper into like your upbringing. What was the circumstances that you was raised by and what meaning did they hold to you at that time?
My upbringing, man, I come from a big family. I'm the youngest of 16, and it's kind of an unconventional family. My pops had 8 kids. My mom had the other 7 or 8. And so my pops, he was drug dealing and kind of older when he had me. So he was stuck in his ways, doing his own thing. So at the age of 2, he caught a life sentence and was sent to prison. My mom died from drugs and alcohol when I was like 6 years old. So at that point, I was kind of just thrown into the mix of older relatives. And so how that kind of shaped me was I was one of the kids that was left to figure it out. And I think Pac said it best is God bless the child that could hold his own. And that was something I had to do. So I grew up in Fresno, from the west side to the east side, and everything around me was gang banging, selling dope, pimping, and robberies. It wasn't really, let me tell you, it wasn't no positive role models, but the people I adapted to and the people I looked up to was all in that lifestyle. So I started robbing folks at an early age. I started holding pistols, thinking it was the thing to do. And it relates to the movie is in the midst of all that chaos, somewhere deep in me, even as a kid, I knew there had to be more than this environment to me than what I was seeing. But at the time, I was just trying to survive and I was just adapting to what was around me. And I didn't realize how much it was shaping the path that I would once walk on.
Right. That's interesting. We're all familiar with the quote that you grow through what you go through, but a more powerful truth is that you grow through what you're exposed to. And if all you're exposed to
Absolutely.
is gang banging, violence, drug dealing, as a human being, you're only thinking survival. And Jacor said that in the movie. He said, since slavery time, we was only taught how to survive, and we carried that with us. So for those of us who wasn't taken out of these environments to be exposed to nothing different, those of us who didn't have, like you said, positive role models, at least within our proximity, to show us that there is more. It's like all your soul is telling you is that there's more. But if you're not seeing nothing else, like you got to eat now, you got to survive now, you got to live now. So it's a crazy, crazy thing. Like, and what would you say was like the biggest turning point for you that threw you in that lifestyle?
My biggest turning point, man, it's kind of what you touched on about I got to eat today. And one of my things was when you grow up poor, man, you ain't got nothing. You want everything. And I mean, you could make do with nothing, but it's surviving. I was tired of surviving, and in my head, the only way I could live was by going out there and taking what you had. So I think I was 11 years old, and I was in elementary school. And I don't know what my 11-year-old mind was thinking, but I just remember laying down in the back of class one day till everybody left out. And there was a crate of laptops in my classroom, man. And I'm like, I could make some money off those. And that was like my first real introduction into crime. At the time it was small, but it kind of shaped to once I took those laptops and I got that first $100 in my pocket. From there, everything was for the taking. It didn't matter Now houses came into play, and I started robbing people, and now I'm hanging out with the homies and X, Y, and Z. But I think the turning point for me was I took some laptops. I made a quick dollar that I have never seen in my life. And from there, it was, excuse my language, fuck what sis talking about, fuck what the teacher talking about. I need to eat now, and this is how I'm going to do it. And as an 11-year-old kid, I wasn't thinking about making it to 18 because so many of my peers didn't make it that far. So my life was, let me get through the day, and then we can figure out tomorrow when tomorrow comes.
Right. That's interesting when you said you brought up the laptop situation and you took it all the way back to that spark before it became a flame. And for me, I believe it was the same thing. It all started with that candy bar I took at 8 years old. You know what I'm saying?
For sure.
Because as I'll be explaining to high school kids that's about to go that way, you think what you're doing now is not a big deal, but it all starts with them little things that you're doing, because little goals build up to bigger goals. So when you take that and you get away with it, the more you get away with it, the more your brain is communicating to you that it's not that bad. You're not thinking about it's an actual family that owns this store and you're taking food out of their mouths. You know what I'm saying? So it's deep. And from that point on, what was your biggest turning point that led you to incarceration?
Man, serious and unfortunate events, man. I was one of them kids that I didn't get away with too much because I did so much and I overthought so much, and I made that my focus was stealing money and making it through that day. So everything else kind of just coexisted within that world. Mm-hmm. And so once I went to juvenile hall for stealing those laptops, eventually I just kept stealing them. Eventually got caught. I go to juvenile hall. And in juvenile hall, it kind of became, for my life, it was normalized. I didn't look at it as, oh, this is a bad place to be or this ain't normal. I thought the majority of kids go to jail. That's what I thought it was. So from there, I get out. The sister that raised me, she passed away from cancer when I was 14. And at that point in my life, I kind of just I gave up on even thinking about doing better. And I always had intelligence. I was very book smart, whether I study or not. It was just something that was in me. But I think my sister dying, mom's dying, pops was in the pen, all those things just kind of start hitting me at a fast pace. And all those years and all those things that I was exposed to kind of caught up into me. I think when I got out at 14 years old, I got out thinking, man, I'm grown. You can't tell me nothing. I'm going to do what I do. And from there, man, I started carrying around guns. I started gang banging, and life just took its own course. And I didn't realize it at the time on how fast that course was dragging me. But I just hopped on the roller coaster, man, and I didn't see the streets. 17 years old, I caught an armed robbery. I was charged as an adult. They sentenced me to 9 years. And during those 9 years, I thought I was working on myself. I thought I was changing behaviors. But at the same time, I was still a kid. So went in at 17. I got out at 25 years old. And everything that I planned for and all the lessons that I had went through and all the OGs in the pen and all these things that I was hearing and I was internalizing didn't prepare me for when I got out as a 25-year-old adult. All those things only accounted for so much of my time. Now I had to figure out, how do I live as an adult in the real world? And so right now I'm 27, right? So I got out at 25. And like I said, I learned a lot. I understood I can't keep doing this. Yet at the same time, it's kind of like you said with those high school students, right? When I was out and I was working, I ran a red light, right? That's strike one. I'm doing the little things. Red light ain't nothing. I could blow past this. I'm drinking and driving. Oh, I ain't get caught for this. I could do this. Little violations of being out of town is nothing, right? And slowly but surely, I started scamming people. I'm doing little things, and they all they added up, but I wasn't catching them in the moment, and I allowed myself to forget how much I didn't want to be in the place I came from. And I let it all stack up on me, man. And I think I speak on it a lot is I was 50-50. I was 1 foot in the door of changing, and I left that 1 foot behind me. And that 1 foot behind me always finds a way to drag me back way farther than any progress I made in life. Right. So I ended up still in the car. I got one kid. I had my son in February 26th. And March 13th, I was in a stolen car, man, 3 weeks after my son was born. I had a job, so it wasn't really for the money. It was more for, I didn't let that identity go of I can still get away with these things. And that one thing I didn't get away with. And I found myself where I am today, back incarcerated, back in the program, still trying to figure it out and still going over it.
Yeah, that's important because even if you only change half your self narrative, unless you change the whole thing, that still becomes an option for you. So that's deep. And for Ja, I identify with Ja in regards to like his relationship with his dad. You know what I'm saying? It's like my dad was an OG from his hood, you know, and in one of those scenes, he made a statement like, I gotta teach him how to survive in here first so that he can survive out there. That's what our parents often push down on us, what they believe survival looks like. You know, they want you to be the one to make it out, but if this is all they know, they can only give you what they know. So I identify with that because my dad let me hold his gun at 6 years old. You know, my dad, one of his ways of punishing me was making me work out. You know, so it's like just a different. I look back now and see that you pretty much raised me to be a gangster, but not intentionally. You just wanted me to survive. You know, so I identify with that part. But you say you grew up without a father for the most part, and if my assumptions are right, the older homies became like father figures for you.
Father figures, yeah. The older homies in the streets in general, man, just different people in and out of my life kind of start shaping who I was becoming without me really realizing that's what was happening.
Right. And that's crazy. And so when he went to prison, I believe that was Lancaster, the prison that he was in. It was hard for him to adjust, but it just shows. I want to point at the little things that's so big to us while we're in there. Is when his pops told him about lifers getting visits, and the main thing he highlighted was the real pillow. You know what I'm saying? Like the outside world don't understand. Like we're deprived of everything to where small things become everything, and that's why dudes be getting killed over the littlest things in prison.
Yeah,
talk about that.
I think that goes back to our childhood too. If you grew up in poverty, man, I think one of his themes in there said, when you grow up with so little but want to give so much, right? It's like with the rappers that come from the hood and your homies that somehow they make it, right? They want to put everybody on. They don't care if we hit our first 10,000, man. I want the homie got 1,000, mama got 1,000, because we so used to having nothing. Those little things is significant, man. That first pair of Jordans, we could still talk about that story. If I remember who gave me my first pair of Jordans, I remember who gave me my first $100 bill, right? And him speaking on the pillow, man, I remember I was 17 years old facing my dope case on my way to prison. So I was going to the county jail, to the courtroom. And one of my homies was like 19 at the time, so he was already in the county. So we meet in the courtroom. He like, man, I can't wait. When you turn 18, hurry up and leave juvenile hall. We got pillows in here. It's something and I'm like, I need that. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because those things get glorified on the internet to where people are like, oh, they got it comfortable. They got it made in there. Like if they comfortable with that, let them stay. But it's not that we comfortable with that. It's all we got. And it's the reality. And you got to make do with what's in front of you, man, because that one suit, that one honey bun, you don't know how hard my people work to send me that money to buy that suit, to buy that honey bun. So of course I'm looking at this like this is my new iPhone. When I get you get the package, man. You walk across the yard, everybody like, hey, what's up, homie? You need help? You need this? And it creates that. I think for us in there, man, it creates that bonded moment to. We made mistakes. I'm not taking away from the victims or whatever circumstances led you to where you are, but you got to make do with what you do. And if you know how to survive coming from those places, the best way to do that is grab onto any and every little thing to where it ain't little no more. This is mine, and I'm gonna hold on to this for dear life. It's like if I give you a pen and I say, if you let go of this pen, you're gonna die. No matter how hard I try to grab that pen, you're gonna make sure it's mine. I'm not letting this go. And I think when you're incarcerated, man, that letter, that picture that they might come in there and try to throw on the floor, it's bigger than you just threw a picture. No, you threw something that's a part of me. And I think for me, every little thing that I had in there, all the notes I used to write, all the poems I used to write, and when my cell get tossed, it was more than just you toss the papers around, man. You tossed a part of me, and we take those kind of things personal.
Right. Right. Like you said, we're deprived of so much already on the streets, but when you go in there, you're even with less than that. You're with
Absolutely.
less than nothing if there's ever such a thing. So dudes do everything they can to at least get some ounce of their personal power back and their dignity and their humanity. So
Absolutely.
towards the end, when that was so powerful, the flower scene when he started gardening, because I felt like that represented like new life. You know what I'm saying? Replanting yourself, new growth. And it was also the moment him and his dad reconnected, so I felt like that was a powerful moment. But overall, throughout the movie, what you felt like was like an overall lesson in there that we should take with us in the real world?
For that movie, man, this one of the scenes where he in the background talking, he said, if you had all day and a night to figure out your life, where would you begin?
Mm.
And so that lesson of that movie for me was, for one, everybody has a story, right? So it don't matter if it was Jakor, his pops, or if you want to change movies or whatever it is. It was all leading up to a cycle. It was all leading up to pops taught me this in the home. I'm gonna do this, and that cycle eventually is gonna continue, keep continuing, keep continuing. But if I had all day and a night to sit there and reflect on my life and to reverse engineer going back to stealing that candy bar, taking that laptop, lying to moms or whatever it was, I could begin to change that cycle. And
Mm.
the earlier you help kids become aware of that, they don't got to do that. So Jakor had a friend. If you remember in the movie, he had a friend that was like, I'm gonna make it up out of here." And his other homie was like, "You always trying to run from the hood. Like we gonna still, you gonna be here though. When you run and come back, we'll be here." So he was already projecting that, yeah, you ain't gonna make it up out of here. You'll be back right here with us. And eventually he did land right back there. But even though Jakor was in the midst of that and still in his chaos, he was aware of, this ain't all they gotta be. But since this is where I'm comfortable at, I'm gonna engage in this. And I think if he had a chance to stop for a minute before that big moment happened, all his life choices, man, had been leading up to prison. His mom's told him, pops kind of projected it onto him like this is just what it is. But if he had a chance to go back, like many of us, and just take a second, man, and really pause and reflect, we wouldn't have made those choices we made. Now, the things we did go through, I believe, do shape us, they do help us, but it'd be insanity, like they say, to keep letting that cycle repeat onto the next generation. And I think him having that kid is one of the biggest things I relate to. He didn't have a chair. He in prison for life in the movie, right? So for me, I come back with a 4-year sentence. My son just turned 2 years old,
Mm.
and I look at it like I'm in this program right now. I got all day and the night to sit here for months at a time and reflect and to internalize a lot of the traumas that I went through and a lot of the cycles that I helped perpetuate, right? But now that I'm able to be aware of that, I'd be insane for my son to be 27 years old, sitting here interviewing, talking about the same traumas I went through. It wouldn't make sense. But if we look back on generations of, pops was an OG in the hood, now I'm an OG in the hood. My son coming up as a BG, he become an OG in the hood. That cycles. Somebody got to become aware, man, and say, you know what, this is it. And I think that's the biggest lesson I got from that movie is he became aware of the cycle, but for him, it was just a little too late in the game. That decision had already been made.
Right, right. And I always say I hate to say prison saved me, but I personally needed that sit time. You know what I'm saying? So that I could reflect and trace it back to the beginning and connect the error of my ways and then replant myself. And that's where the name came from, Last of a Dying Seed. Us realizing those who come from that lifestyle who kept it pure, but realized how destructive and really senseless and intangible it is.
Right.
And me wanted to identify with the truth and be that force that creates a narrative change, and you're a part of that now. So I appreciate that. And what would you say is like your biggest regret though throughout your whole journey?
My biggest regret, I would say it would be, I think I became aware of the path I was taking early on, but I didn't take heed to the signs early enough, right? So I ain't one of them ones that I could blame. I mean, like, we could all try to sit there and blame parents or the environment or whatever we seen growing up, whatever it is, right? But even early on, I kind of knew I'm better than this. But at the same time, I wanted to belong somewhere. So even though I know I'm better than this, I'm gonna engage in this activity with y'all, and I'm gonna try to be the one to lead us into these activity because I wanted that sense of belonging. So my biggest regret is becoming aware and not choosing to figure out how can I start going onto a different path. How can I help my peers, even as a youth, how can I help my peers see that we much more than the circumstances we come from? And I think I had opportunities that I missed at the time. It was plenty of people around me trying to pull me in different directions, and I kind of just let myself gravitate towards the bad side. So I think that's one of my biggest regrets, man, is just not taking the hold of them opportunities that probably could have projected me into a different path.
And how important you think like the accountability partners are? You know what I'm saying? Your peers, your homies, like that is conducive to your change.
If you ain't got somebody that's gonna tell you just straight up you want bullshit, it ain't for you. Like even if it's homies from your hood, your girl, whoever it is, man, if they really got love for you, a lot of people use the word homie loosely. When you're in the pen, it's a lot of homies that you really don't know them or you really don't care about them, right? But if you really we ain't gonna say if you really my friend, you really my loved one, or somebody that I want in my inner circle, you should be able to speak honestly when you see me doing wrong. Vice versa. If I see you doing wrong, I should be able to call you out on it without it being some type of conflict. So I think being able to take constructive feedback and criticism or whatever it may be is huge, man. I think we all need to start developing those circles. And if you got friends that you care for that don't have those skill sets yet, go sit in the room and talk about it. Go hash out whatever need to be hashed out and get to a point to where me and my homie is on the same page. Because eventually, if I start going down a path like right now, I'm trying to go down that path of change and leave running red light, leaving any type of criminal lifestyle behind me, right? But if I got somebody that called me and all they could conversate about is the criminal lifestyle, that accountability will never be there because your door's still open to do that, to engage in that. So you ain't gonna hold me accountable when I start kind of veering off. So I kind of got to either cut ties or me and you got to start conversating about being accountable for what is it we doing. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I always say the hardest part about change is change itself. You know, because when you've internalized that for so long, the hardest part about it becomes a habit, then it becomes second nature, and it is you. I would never say I was somebody I wasn't. I did it. So it was
Right.
me, you know, but it was the bad part of myself that I chose to nurture and cultivate, you know, and let take over the majority of my existence, you know, and now I make it a daily practice to practice things that take over my daily existence now, as far as the good side. Yep. So, and the Indians, you know, they have that saying, you got two wolves in you. Every man has two wolves, one good, one evil. The one who comes out on top is the one you feed the most.
I just did a video. I heard it differently. It was about two dogs. Same exact saying, though. Well, everyone you feed, your mind is fertile, man. If you feed that positive seed in your mind, it'll grow. But if you feed that negative, it's going to grow as well. It don't matter what you plant in there. You leave it there long enough, it'll take over.
Right. And it don't matter what environment you in, because those of us who changed while we were still behind those walls, the environment didn't change, but we did, you know, so that just goes to show your perception is more powerful than your circumstance. Once you make a perception shift, those of us who did that, now we start building in those cells, whereas other people is really dying off slowly in them same cells. So how important do you think it is as far as like your perception when you got to be raised in a fucked up environment?
I think if you look at everything as when you take that victim stance of this went wrong, I should have had this lifestyle, you ain't gonna make it nowhere because you steady focusing on the problem. And when you focus on the problem, the problem magnifies all the time. But when you change that perception and you start seeing, how can I get this? Why is my life like this? Can I get it over here? You start finding solutions, right? So when you start looking for answers and looking for the solution to things, you'll notice life will give them to you. You'll run into people that you probably been ran into 20 times, and every time they spoke to you, you didn't hear what they was trying to give you. So once you start looking for the answer, once you start looking for the positivity, even in the most fucked up neighborhoods, even some of them OGs, they got something good to give you if that's what you're looking for. Most of the times when I was little, I wasn't looking for the good things. I was looking for the quick hustle, the quick corner cut, and I found it. If I'd have looked for how to make it out of here, I'd have seen it was John Doe and Mary Jane over here working hard, so they kids wasn't doing the shit I was doing, right? So I think once you had that mind shift of I could do this, you could do this. Just like they say, the moment you think you can't do something, you can't. The moment you think you can, you can. And I really do believe manifestation is a real thing.
Right. And the power of self-narrative. It's our self-narrative, what we choose to internalize and tell ourselves that has the biggest impact on our psyche. It dictates how we function in this world. Yeah, that's powerful. So for people that's coming home, if you can relate it to the movie, that's great. But what's some advice that you would give them?
A big part of that movie, I think, with John Cora was once he started partaking in the criminal lifestyle, right? He got the case of the fuckers. I'm already doing these little things, so I'm gonna go all in, right? It's easy coming home from incarceration to say, well, damn, I just tested dirty. Let me not check in no more. I'm probably gonna go to jail, right? So you start projecting the worst case scenarios. The biggest thing that I let myself do was fall into that trap of if I mess up once, I might as well just go down the landslide. You're gonna mess up. I don't care how many books you done read, how religious you done turned, how much your life had hit a 180 or 360. Somewhere down the line, man, we gonna do some faults. We're gonna make some mistakes. But don't let that mistake be that defining moment to where you say, all them years I put in doing good, I'm gonna let this one say, it ain't worth it. Because it's easy to get caught up in that trap of I messed up once, I ain't going to work no more. Or whatever situation it is you find yourself in, man. And I let myself run the light or do whatever it was, the little thing. Fuck it, I'm gonna just go all the way full fledged in, and that's gonna erase all the growth that you put in the progress in. Unless that's just who you want to be, then more power to you. It's really nothing to be said at that point, right? So I think the biggest lesson is gonna be patience, knowing that you spent 20, 30 years of your life doing the wrong thing. Getting to the right side of the tracks ain't gonna happen in 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years, 10, 20, whatever. It might take a whole lifetime to get there, right? Just stay on it. And even when you do kind of backslide, don't let that backslide take you down that rabbit hole, man. Just pick yourself back up and continue to make those steps forward.
Right. And in today's times and beyond, what are your aspirations? Like what are your goals for the future?
Right now, one of my short-term goals, so I get out of here in a few months and I'm trying to do the youth mentorship. I see these kids and I be in these groups and they always say how the kids these days is worse or that this generation is just worse than we were. No, they just more exposed. We can see what they doing more because of social media, right? So I think the biggest thing is a lot of mentors, in my opinion, they try to go fix somebody's problem. And a mentorship ain't to be trying to fix nobody's life. It's to help guide, it's to help just shed light on different paths. And that person gonna still choose A, B, C, or whatever it is they want to do. So I think it's more people that coming. I know it's fucked up, but a lot of people coming home from incarceration, man. We got a story that these young people could relate to. We got paths. We done took these same paths, but it's not just saying they already went to prison, so you ain't got to do it. I heard that growing up 1,000 times, right? I've been through this, so you ain't got to do it. That going one ear and out the other. Let me take a hold of you. Come see why you ain't got to do it. Let me show you the positive things that's going on. Let me come get you from the hood and take you on a bike ride somewhere. Take you to an amusement park. Take you to a meeting somewhere where grown men is discussing real life situations. Not perfect groups. Not saying life after this is gonna be just all lovely, right? But show them even through the struggle, it's something bigger out there. So I think right now that's kind of my main focus, man, is trying to navigate towards that field because I feel like it's missing a rawness, is missing a real life touch because they've been having mentors for years, and somehow, some way, this cycle is still being done. So that's something I'm focused on right now.
For sure, it seems like so many men primarily and women get paid to just tell you don't do it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like these corporate and foundation and government dollars are going to people that's just saying, say no, but there's no trade-off, you know? And I always said that, like growing up, I know what it feels like to be in the darkest place in your brain that you can be, and to be in that I don't give a fuck phase to where you couldn't just tell me something. I wouldn't give a fuck if it was like illegal still. If it was something I didn't care for, you can't tell me nothing.
I don't hear it.
So if there's no trade-off, because once I leave from you telling me this, I'm back in the war zone. So
doing what I do.
Like you said, you're not telling me, man, I'll take you right now. Come on, we're about to go do this, this, and that, and whoa, and then really open me up. Because you got to be out of that environment often to really see what's going on in that environment.
Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a big point. Is you done been the youth, you know what I mean? So you done kind of seen the same way in the movie, right? When they walking down the street and you got the little boy on the curb, he like, what happened to you? Oh man, they somebody big brother, they just beat me up. I know where his cousin stay. Let's go get him, right? Now imagine if you got somebody that's gonna pull up. No, don't you know what? Let's go do this instead. Or they like you said, they taking you out of your environment for a day. And that's not to say a lot of these, I want to say nonprofits, and I ain't knocking them because you got to have to try somewhere. Somebody got to keep trying until they get it right, right? But a lot of people don't take the time to say, when this little boy do go back home, he is still in that war zone. He's still dealing with drug addicted parents, poverty stricken lifestyle, whatever it is, right? So it's not about saying, I'm going to fix your life today or come join my program in a year from now, everything is going to be great. No, you might struggle, and it's just the reality. You don't want to tell no kid that, but man, it's the truth. You right now, you're going to go through some things, right? But let me come show you the tools it's going to take to manage those to where you don't self-destruct. Let me come take you out of that so you can see if somehow, some way you manage your way up out of this, this is what's waiting on you. I think that's the trade-off is seeing we could live on the same block. And if my homie goes on vacation to another parent's house or a grandparent's house, and he telling me about all these great adventures he done been on, I want to see that too. So if somebody take their time to come get the youth, man, and show them like this little circle is very, very small compared to the world. And I think a lot of us didn't have that. And I think a lot of kids need that, and it kind of help with a lot of the chaos that's going on today.
For sure. Man, that was powerful. I'm pretty sure your story is going to carry. Appreciate you for coming on. Everybody that's watching, Chance Hall, as he relates his life to the movie All Day and the Night. And this conversation is so important, not only because of his story as an individual, but because we're attempting to get to the root cause as to why a child is the way they is when they're growing up in the hood, you know, by using his story primarily and then some of my story, because we often talk about what happened instead of why it happened. Without that why, you will truly never understand and be able to give this kid or young man the proper solutions. So y'all got a movie, whoever's watching, that relates to your life, come on the channel, leave an impact, and, you know, let's continue to build narrative intelligence.
Every seed that we planted bore some rotten fruit. The baby boomers sold crack just to cop a coupe. They taught us slide and shoot, judge hangers with the noose. Never show no mercy on your ops, never call a truce. Big bruh said you could be a pimp. All you gotta do is have her mind and you can lead the bitch. Brainwashed by the six, but then with self-imposed limitations. Trying to hit this home run before we load the bases. Never had no patience, all my partners died young, and yet and still we emulated examples that they died from.